mentioned, Spain is one of the countries helping that flotilla securely get to Gaza, and the Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, has committed naval assistance to make sure that happens. He's been one of the few leaders in Europe willing to take a stand against Trump administration policies. We sat down with him on the heels of his week at the UN to talk about Gaza, immigration, and his relationship with President Trump. You spoke this week at the UN about what's happening in Gaza. At one point, you said we have to stop the slaughter. After meeting with world leaders, do you feel any closer to that goal?
Not yet, but it's true that last Monday we achieved a very important milestone, which is the recognition by a large majority of countries within the General Assembly of the Palestine statehood. And I think this is one of the parts of the equation. We need to recognize the state of Palestine. There are some countries in the Arab world that need to recognize the state of Israel too, in order to have a peaceful and secure coexistence between the two states, and of course the immediate release of hostages and the immediate ceasefire, and of course entrance of humanitarian aid. So there is a lot of work to do, but I think that last Monday we achieved a very important milestone.
The United States, as you know, is one of very few countries at this point that has yet to designate Palestine as a state. President Trump has said that that would be a reward for Hamas.
I disagree. It is not the case. On the contrary, if you listen to what President Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, said last Monday, was to ask the Israeli people to stop the war and to open a political process in order to settle the peace and the security needed by Israeli people and, of course, the Palestine citizens. So I think that when you state that this is a reward to Hamas, it is recognizing Hamas a leverage that they don't have. And what we are doing, actually, recognizing Palestine statehood, is strengthening the moderates within the Palestine society. So it is the contrary.
There's a flotilla as we speak that departed from Barcelona, making its way across the Mediterranean to Gaza. Of course, Spain designated a naval ship as the escort. Why is this so important for you to make this a priority?
Well, it is indeed because, first of all, there are citizens coming from 45 different countries in the flotilla. There are 15 countries that a week ago we released a statement, a common statement, saying to the Prime Minister Netanyahu that we are going to protect on the diplomacy level our citizens, and that is why we send this vessel in order to rescue just in case it is necessary.
During the UN this week, President Trump addressed countries with regard to immigration and said,
"Your countries are going to hell."
Your response to that?
It is not our case. It's the contrary. Of course, we are fighting against smugglers and we're fighting against irregular migration. But the experience so far in Spain is that over the last 7 years, we have received 2 million migrants, mainly from Latin America. And at the same time, we have dropped about 40% unemployment rate. So I think that Western societies that now are facing what we call this demographic winter, we need to activate two tools. The first one is how do we increase birth rate within our countries? And for that you need to put in place family policies. But on the other hand, you need also to boost regular migration. And the other one was the ecological transition, the green transition. So far in Spain over the last 7 years, thanks to the to renewables energy, what we did was to drop by 50% electricity prices. Because nowadays we have 60% of our electricity is generated from renewable sources, thanks to that, well, we are boosting the industrial production growth, and we have electricity price which is like 30% lower than the European average. You can boost your economy, and you, of course, can face very important challenges as the one on climate change and this winter, the demographic winter.
In that spirit of collaboration, you've been quite vocal in your opposition of President Trump's policies. He recently had a number of European leaders at the White House. You were not invited. President Trump has said, I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. What kind of relationship do you have with President Trump?
Well, actually, Spain and the United States, we have a very, very good relationship. I mean, I'm not defying anyone. I'm defending what I think is the interest of my country, Europe, and of course aligned with my convictions and my ideas. But certainly, the United States represents the second foreign investors in Spain. The destiny of most of the investments, Spanish investments, goes to the United States. So there's a very important and a strong relationship between the U.S. and Spain, and therefore, of course, between the European Union and the United States. I disagree with some of the let's say, policies. But, of course, I respect and I'm looking forward to have the best relationship with the U.S. administration.
I want to show you this headline. Meet the leader of Europe's anti-Trump resistance. And it's a picture of you. Do you think that's a fair characterization?
Well, I defend my ideas, my convictions, and as Prime Minister of a country, of an important country within the European Union, the project, I defend the interest of my country. And I'm, by the way, if you see the outcome, we are growing and we're representing more or less 30–40% of the total economic growth of the Eurozone. We have more than 22 million people working in Spain, which is, never happened before. And we are able to, boost our economic growth while we are reducing gas emissions, CO2. So what I'm trying to say is that it is possible to raise wages while you are creating jobs. It is possible to reduce gas emissions while your economy is growing. It is possible to have a strong welfare state while at the same time you are reducing the public deficit or the public debt. This is happening in some countries, and one of these countries is Spain.
With regard to the momentum of the far-right movement, certainly it's picking up in Spain. You've recently announced that you are going to seek re-election, with many deciding that they are going along with that anti-immigration stance. As you know, President Trump sought re-election, won re-election in part because he did promise that he was going to crack down on immigration. Are you concerned that your pro-immigration stance could cost you the election?
But let me add that I'm pro-regular migration, which I think is very important because, of course, one of our duties as prime ministers, in my case, is to keep border control, and this is something that we're doing. But on the other hand, what we need is also migration, regular migration, in order to, to not only to respond to a moral issue, because at the end of the day we're talking about human people. I think it's a big mistake to, let's say, to say that a migrant is a potential criminal, which is not the case. It is not the case. But it is true that we need that regular migration.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.